Whoopsies, forgot to open that up. All right. Welcome back to the Q&A series for the Diastasis project. And today we will be looking at the question about the linea alba. The linea alba is a tendinous structure, and eccentric exercises have been shown to better promote tendon regeneration. How does this work in the linea alba? Could hypopressive exercises make it better or worse? This is an interesting one. All these questions are interesting. And by the way, people vote on these questions. So when you register for the diastasis discussions, you can get access to the way that you can ask questions. You can vote the existing questions up, or you can ask your own questions. And I'm just going to be making my way through the list, nice and easy. So hopefully you enjoy that. Right. The linea alba is a tendinous structure, eccentric exercises. Well, first of all, the linea alba, it does resist sideways motion and it does resist longitudinal motion. So arching backwards is what it resists, and it also resists the pull laterally from the lateral abdominal muscles, the internal oblique, external oblique, and the transversus abdominis muscles. So yes, it does do that. Now, the rectus abdominis will bring its two edges closer together, and that's just because of the way physics works. When something shortens, it's going to take the shortest path, and so you would expect those two edges to come closer together, unless you've got something like pressure or visceral fat in the way. So that's what's going on there. So in terms of eccentrically loading the linea alba, I very much like rollbacks, roll-ups. I like to do exercises in 4-point kneeling, in plank positions, in loaded positions, hanging off things. I very much like to load the structures as much as the person can for where they're at in their journey. How far postpartum are they? How far since they've had a diastasis? By the way, guys can get diastasis. So on the project, you'll see a consult with a guy that I did who reached out. So thank you for donating that case there. And you can also have a diastasis and not being pregnant at all and not having done anything to induce an injury. We can see lots of different ones that occur. So having said all of that, how does it work in the linea alba? I think we've got to lengthen it under tension. That means rollbacks and using something like a GHD to get into spinal extension to really put load there and then come back out of that. That means sit-ups over a ball, sit-ups on a GHD machine, doing all sorts of things, hollow holds and then lift and lowers, really being able to manage pressure, control the body, both in an anti-rotation way as well as with rotation. So being able to twist and rotate and load the tissues, develop that segmental coordination, because I think it can be learned. I don't think you need tension across the midline in the way that some people speak about, because it's a baseline assumption that makes sense if you think about it, sure. But it also makes sense that it doesn't need to have that there for you to be completely functional as well. So you can use other muscles and other coordination patterns to generate that rotation that you're looking for. So I've seen people who have done all the right exercises, the transversus contractions, and they have difficulty rotating because they haven't learned how to rotate. Whereas focusing on rotation and then different ways to rotate so that they get a nice, smooth, fluid motion, 3D motion, I think these are the principles that I like to work with, whether you have diastasis or not. These are the hallmark to me of stability, control, balance, power, strength, speed of repetition. All of these things are so helpful. So in terms of hypopressive exercises making it better or worse, I think hypopressives are great. I have no problem with them. Do they do all the things that they claim? Probably not. Nothing ever does, right? Are they going to be super helpful for some people? Absolutely. I would never take that away from somebody. If somebody likes doing their hypopressive exercises and they find that it's helpful for them for whatever reason, that's fantastic. I just like to remember for myself, and if people like to know, that the results don't prove reasoning. We call that a post hoc logical fallacy. And what that means is if I think that this purple amethyst stone contains special energy that heals you, and then I rub your body with the stone and then you feel better, it doesn't prove that the stone has magical powers. We just observed that you got better. The reason why might be actually the rubbing, and it didn't have to be the stone. It could have been my hand. It could have been my magical energy that I hover over you. It could have been the piece of paper. It could have been the massage gun. It could have been a foam roller. It could have been the ultrasound machine. There's so many different things that it could be that contributes to you feeling different. The result of you feeling different doesn't prove that it was the thing that you thought it was or the reason that you thought it was. So hypopressive exercises, can it make it better? Can it make it worse? Yes, it can make it better. And yes, it can make it worse. Why? Because maybe you don't load up enough. Maybe all you do is hypopressive exercise and you never load the anterior abdominal wall through crunches, sit-ups, leg lifts, and all the things that require a strong intra-abdominal pressure and training your body to contain that pressure and manage it. So if you only do hypopressives, it might be detrimental in that you can't then go pick up an above body weight deadlift unless you've trained for that. But if you do train for that, if you do deadlifts and you do learn how to do that and you do hypopressive exercises, that can be actually quite beneficial and relaxing and helpful. So I am by no means throwing hypopressives under the bus. I think it's a fantastic option out there, but I don't think it's the cure-all for anything. And likewise, I don't think deadlifting heavy, even though that's my preference, that's not for everybody either. We really got to look at what the person wants to do and progress them towards what they want to do, working with them to figure out how that's going to look, what that's going to look like, monitoring for the simple principles of how are you generating pressure? Are you putting excessive amounts of tension in areas that may lead to either worsening of the diastasis, so a hardening bulge versus a soft dome bulge, bearing down through the pelvic floor because we are about pelvic health as well. And also tissues, you know, like you can sustain a muscular tear if you load your abdominals too hard, too quick, and cause yourself a hernia even. Like those things do happen to people and you don't have to have a diastasis for that to happen. So sensibly loading, you've got to stress to progress. You've got to put enough stress into the system that it's going to adapt. And that's why eccentric loading is nice, because you get to load it a little bit more than you do a concentric contraction. But then also rest, recovery, nutrition, good sleep, you know, all of the other things as well. How are you managing what's going on in your life? How are you managing the interpersonal conflicts you have? How are you managing your own depression, stress, anxiety, all the things that are going on in your life? All of those things come into it. So is eccentric loading good for the linea alba? Absolutely. How does it work? Stretching the linea alba, that means, you know, doing twisting, doing arches, arching your back, those sway back postures. A lot of the things that people say are bad for it, you could be loading it in a great way. Could hypopressives make it better? Yes. Can hypopressives make it worse? Yes. How you do it and how it fits into the whole picture of what you're doing is much, much more important than the thing that you choose to do. So hopefully you continue to support the Diastasis project. I'm going to keep trying to get through these questions. I don't know when I'll be able to do it. I'll try to do it once a week and I'll try to get a bunch done at a time. But you can help us out by subscribing to the YouTube channel, the Facebook group, the Instagram page. If you'd like to contribute to the Diastasis project in some way, provide content, videos, images, editing, we need all the help we can get. So thank you very much for those who've already donated their time and their expertise to us. You can donate financially through PayPal, either regularly or as a once-off payment, and you can support us by buying a course that the proceeds will go towards helping keep this project running. So thank you very much to everybody. I hope you have a great time wherever you are, and keep those questions coming. Register for the diastasis discussions and you'll be able to vote up different questions, and I'm just working through them in order. So thanks very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.